Winter Roses, Autumn by Fairytalelovr, Chapter 17. Littlefinger cursed as the throne room emptied, servants coming to carry out the two dead guards, deliver them to the Silent Sisters, and clean up the blood. He had obviously miscalculated severely. His plan had been to just... Oh, but perhaps this would work out perfectly. The king was bound to have been furious with the betrothal. Obviously. But with Joffrey's actions overnight, he wouldn't blame Ned Stark. But now, with all that stacked against the Blonde Prince, Ned Stark would either outright ask, or at the very least Robert would propose something drastic to oppose his friend. That was, perhaps, what would finally ignite the war! Cersei Lannister was not the type of woman to accept that her son had done anything wrong, regardless of what he had done to the punishment. Cersei would think of any actions against Joffrey as a declaration of war, and if there was something Littlefinger had learnt about the Queen, was that she was fiercely protective of her children, and she lacked her father's cunning and restraint. She was an explosion waiting to happen. In the meantime, he still had another source worth cultivating, so he scribbled a quick note, went down to the courtyard, and ordered his litter prepared. Dear Cat, I am sorry to send this in writing, but I simply could not leave the Red Keep now. Prince Joffrey has just attacked the Lady Sansa before the whole court, so the castle is in disrepair. She is not badly wounded, but I am certain she would appreciate her mother's comforting presence. I have sent my litter for you, and I am certain the High Septon would give you leave under the circumstances. Yours, Peter. There. This would cause discomfort in the Tower of the Hand, while he went to see what trouble Robert was causing. He couldn't wait to send the Raven about Joffrey's fall to Casterly Rock. After all, Joffrey was too unpredictable to be useful. He had been useful in creating chaos in regards to Sansa's betrothal, but if he were to ever become king, he would be ruled by his whims, likely to change his mind as he changed his moods. A ruler like that would be too hard to be manipulated, and the effort would probably be wasted, not to mention too dangerous. The best case scenario, now then, was to have Joffrey disinherited and out of the picture, so Casterly Rock would rise and call their banners, and finally they would have war. Not a complete loss. After all, the day could still be salvaged. Ned burst into the room. Jaime was already inside, speaking to a frowning Robert. The Northerner threw his badge on the desk and his cold fury was freezing the room. You are my friend, Your Grace, but I will not take this insult. Ned, calm down. Do not ask for me for calm right now, Robert, Ned yelled, furious and angry and a bit unbalanced. He could handle a lot, but he could not stomach any of his children hurt. Your son was received with love and grace in my home, and he violated that by attacking my good daughter, nearly leading her to miscarry. Now he attacks my daughter in one of the most brutal ways in front of the whole court. I will not have it. I will not be insulted as such. You can keep your kingdoms. I am leaving for Winterfell in the morning. Ned, wait! The king called when he made to leave the room. Lannister was just telling me what happened. Please, let me speak. Ned exhaled, his hand still trembling in fury. I must thank you, Sir Jaime. You were fighting that pathetic excuse for a night, so I can only suppose you were defending my lady daughter. I did nothing but the reasonable thing, Lord Stark, he said. For the first time, there was no trace of irony in his voice, and Ned noticed how the side of his face was bruised. I only wish I had gotten there sooner. Ned, I will not let this go unpunished. Ned, the king insisted. Oh, I'm sure. You will give me Sir Boros's head, which I am demanding anyway. But then that will be it. Ned, listen. All due respect, Robert, but I will not accept a mere apology. I followed you to war, twice, without hesitations, because I believed it was the right thing to do. This is not war. This is pure dishonor, and I will not have it. No one messes with my family. I lost my sister because of a crown prince. I will not lose my daughter because of another. It was the right thing to say. Robert stiffened. I promise.
You won't. Would you call for a trial?
He asked, picking up the badge from the table and extending it back to Ned yet again. But the Northerner was not so easily appeased.
My lady wife has returned to the Tower of the Hand, and has already started to pack. We are leaving in wait until the trial, Ned, while you draft that little bitch's disinheritance. I won't ask you to stay if you really wish to go.
Ned faltered.
Disinheritance?
He had toyed with the notion that morning when Joffrey's actions against the Hall came to light. But had he known it was too premature? But to have Robert suggest it? Jaime felt ice sinking into the pit of his stomach. He had known, after the spectacle he had witnessed in the throne room, that Joffrey would be in for a severe punishment. It was what had led him to come to tell Robert immediately, to try to break the news gently so that the king wouldn't be so enraged with the son he already disliked so much. He had even conjugated, after Joffrey's continued mad behaviour as of late, that he might lose his title and his place in the succession. But Jaime very much intended to have the boy shipped off to Casterly Rock before anything could be decided. But Joffrey's offence, so public and so grave, had been the last straw for Robert. The boy, already hated by Robert and disliked in court, had threatened and publicly beaten up the lady daughter of Robert's best friend, with no cause other than his own amusement. There would be no saving him from that.
Yes,
Robert continued, oblivious to Jaime's inner turmoil.
he went too far for the last time. Let's see how long he laughs now.
Ned nodded.
7 days, Robert. I won't take another insult, small as it might be.
Robert nodded solemnly. Ned took his badge back and stomped out of the room, still burning with anger. Ned was drumming his fingers on his desk, trying to calm his racing thoughts. Benjen had tried to argue in favour of leaving immediately, but Ned was more in favour of seeing Joffrey disinherited, and so the younger brother agreed, and the packing had halted. He was sitting in his solar with his 2 older sons, as Benjen coordinated the guard with Jory, and Ella was with Sansa as she was tended to by Maester Byron.
I can take the children and Ella north before the trial, Father, Jon offered. My captain said we can set sail tomorrow afternoon tide. And Aunt Isla will be there on the same ship for support, since our stepmother should be resting, not travelling. Thank you, son, Ned exhaled. I would be delighted to accept, but I can't. Sansa will need to be there for the trial, and since the king has asked me for this long, I shouldn't offend him. Besides, I do want to see the blonde bitch disinherited. Robb snorted. I would have thought we owe the king no deference in this matter. We don't, Ned agreed. But he is still the king, and as my lady wife loves to remind me, we're playing a game of politics. Let him have his trial. I will draft Joffrey's decree of disinheritance, and I will have the great pleasure to see it signed and sent to Casterly Rock with the little fallen prince. Let Cersei Lannister choke on it. Adam came into the solar. They've called the false knight. I refuse to call that a king's guard on principle. We've got a few banged up guards, but nothing permanent. It seems Sir Boros had some friends in the castle that tried to help him escape. But, well, I may have shared with Jory some strategic passageways over the years. He was trying to get to the harbour, certainly to board anything that was setting sail. But Jory and his men managed to cut his escape short. I'm sure Jory's already sent him to the Black Sills, Ned said as he clenched his jaw and curled his fists in a deep-welled fury. Adam felt his lips twitch into as much of a smile as he could manage in this situation. I might have told him to lose the key. I don't want a lost key, Ned said. That man was beating up my daughter. I want him on his knees as I cut off his head. I know that, and no one is judging you, Adam countered. But if Sir Boros is tried before Joffrey, he will be the one who actually did the beating. It will deflate Joffrey's guilt in the eyes of the people. If he's tried after, either people will be gossiping about Joffrey too much to care about a disgraced Kingsguard, or they will want a more severe punishment because Joffrey got off lightly. Either way, it's Joffrey that I want to see in disgrace.
Ned nodded, agreeing with his logic.
How is your sister? Unshaken.
Adam replied.
Said that she was mostly angry that was too many gods to hold her for her to have under a dagger.
He chuckled.
Anyway, did you organise the charges yet?
Aye. We have a dead Stark guard and a dead Tyrell. Marjorie said they did nothing, so I'm certain we can get witnesses to that. Jaime Lannister came in defence of Sansa, so that is something heavily in our favour. Besides, even if she was guilty of treason, Joffrey had no right to do as he did. I am only waiting for Master Byron to finish tending to Sansa, so that he can write everything down. I'm furious enough that I think I will only snap the quill broken, or my letters will be blurry. Jaime eyed the paper before him, thinking about how to convey everything into words. More than that, into a small raven message. Cersei would obviously be furious, however he wrote it. But how do you tell the love of your life that your son had behaved terribly, had already lost his crown, and was going to be on the trial for his life? Dear Cersei, Joff was furious that Sansa Stark was betrothed to Edric Dane and attacked her before the court. I could not stop him. To keep Ned Stark from resigning and leaving, Robert ordered Joff's disinheritance on trial. I will try, Cersei, but I do not know if I can get him to you. Love, Sir Jaime Lannister of the Kingsguard. There, simple and to the point, though Cersei would still hate him and possibly blame him. As if Jaime ever had any influence over the son he had never been able to claim. He sighed. He was tired. So tired. He had now failed his son, his firstborn, and Jaime couldn't even protect him. What was the point of anything anymore? On his way to the rookery, Jaime cut through Maegor's holdfast, and was not in the least bit surprised that, even though one of his sworn brothers was keeping guard at Joffrey's door, a duty he would never be assigned to, there were also 2 Stark guards, 1 Dane and 1 Tyrell, all the offended houses guarding their offender. It would be impossible to get Joffrey this way. Perhaps an escape through the service door would be possible. It was worth checking, obviously. But then he needed to find someone who would be clever and skilled enough to get Joffrey from the castle, outside the city walls, and to Casterly Rock. That would be complicated enough, even if the man would be assured to receive a fortune from Tywin Lannister. He sighed once more. What a fucking nightmare. Catelyn was twisting her hands in agony the entire way from the Sept of Baelor to the Red Keep, thinking about her sweet girl broken and beaten. The entrance to the Tower of the Hand was heavily guarded, but one of the men led her to a large room where Ned was pacing, Robb, Benjen, the boy, and his guard waiting with them. How did you know to come? Robb asked. Lord Baelish, no doubt. Ned snorted. He started all this. I hope you're happy, Catelyn. Whatever do you mean, Ned? She asked, confused. I mean that I asked you for discretion on Sansa and Edric's betrothal, but you had to go and tell your friend. Ned snapped, visibly furious. And he came back to the Red Keep and went straight to tell Joffrey, who still believed Sansa was to be his bride. The little prince then was offended and did what he did. God, I could strangle Baelish right now. Catelyn was shocked. Peter wouldn't have. Would he? Why, when he had been nothing but a loyal friend? There had to be more to the story. Before she could speak again, though, a Kingsguard came into the room. Lord Stark, I am deeply sorry for what happened. Thank you, Sir Barristan. Please, tell me he is locked up. He is, my lord. I have organised the Kingsguard to stand at his door, minus Sir Jaime, obviously. And Lord Kristock suggested we leave Stark, Dane and Tyrell men as well. Jory has set 2 of your men at the servants' passageways, and everyone is being monitored. I doubt he will escape, even if I am certain there will be a good number of lords trying to smuggle him to Casterly Rock. Good, good. Anything else? Ned asked. The Grand Maester finished his examination of the girl, found in Prince Joffrey's room this morning. I can tell you later if you would prefer. No, tell me now.
and I shall have it added to his charges." "What is this now?" Rob asked. "Joffrey was gifted a whore last night. The girl was found beaten up this morning." Ned said, "How is she, Sir Barristan?" "Dead. She was beaten up with a club, a staff, or something equally heavy," the Grand Maester said. "And though she wasn't bleeding much on the outside, her spleen was ruptured, and she bled out inside her own body." "Poor girl," Adam said. "She was a whore, not a girl," Catelyn said. "She was a human being, regardless of her profession, and did not deserve to be attacked as such. Especially not for the amusement of the boy," Ned said. "Find out if she had a family, so the Crown can give them compensation. Other than that, this is one more reason for me to want to strangle Lord Baelish." Isla came down the stairs, leading to the family's chambers, her hands on her baby bump, drawing all eyes to the room.
"Maester Byron went to wash up. He said Sansa will be fine,"
she said, and there was a collective sigh of relief.
"She has 2 broken ribs, and another 2 were bruised. Her wrist was twisted, and 2 fingers also broken. But other than that, only cuts and bruises."
"Can I see her?" Ned asked.
"The Maester gave her something to sleep, since she was still agitated, and she needs rest. But I am certain she would like to see you, my lord. And I think you and Adam could help in making Lady Stark go and have some rest as well."
"I want to see my daughter,"
Catelyn said. "I'll check if she wants to see you," Ned said. They didn't stop her when she followed him up the stairs. It was Arya who opened the door when he knocked, and she turned inside.
"Sansa, it's Father and Adam. Can they come in?"
Apparently the girl had said yes, because Arya opened the door and let them in.
"Ella!"
she exclaimed, though rushing back inside.
"I can do that."
"What's the matter?"
Ned asked.
"I was just propping her up."
Ned waved his concern away.
"Is that better, love?" "Yes, Ella. Thank you. Father, please take her to rest." Sansa said, "Aunt Isla said you were overdoing yourself." "Sansa is right, Ella," Daenerys said. "Go rest. We've got it from here."
Ned crossed the room to the bed and took Sansa's on her hand in his.
"Are you sure you're feeling better?"
"I will be fine, Father. The Maester said nothing permanent happened."
"Good," Ned said.
Then he sighed. She looked so breakable, lying there on the bed.
"I washed off your necklace, Sansa,"
Marjorie said, coming from the dressing table.
"Do you want it now, or shall I put it aside?" "I want it," the girl replied,
and Dany helped Marjorie put it in place, as Arya held Ella back from helping.
"My sweet girl,"
Ned started. Seeing her so vulnerable made him want to get her out of this city right this moment.
"I do not wish to trouble you, but the king will hold a trial for Prince Joffrey in 7 days."
"Will I have to be there?"
"Not if you don't want to," Ella said, though all the adults knew that it would be better if she was.
"Your stepmother is right," Ned said. "Jon said he can take you north on the Lady Daenerys tomorrow if you wish, and I am sure Robb won't mind leaving now to escort you to Winterfell."
"Whatever you like best, Sansa,"
Marjorie said, knowing she would have to part from her family days sooner than anticipated. But it didn't matter.
"There is no rush now," Ella said. "Get some rest, Sansa, and think fresh on it afterwards." "I will," Sansa agreed. "If you will rest as well, Ella, please. You did more than enough today, and both Maester Byron and Aunt Isla told you to go to bed."
The woman chuckled.
"Fine, I will go. But if anything happens—"
"We are not leaving her side," Dany said. "You don't need to worry."
"And Sansa has her mother to care for her,"
Catelyn said from where she had been standing at the door. She was deeply uncomfortable, even hurt and angry, that her daughter cared so much for this woman. This stranger, this common woman who came from nowhere to take her place.
"Mother!"
Sansa exclaimed and beamed.
"You came!"
Reassured by her smile, Catelyn came closer to the bed. "I came as soon as I heard, my sweet girl." Sansa's eyes began to drop as the potion began to have effect.
"You rest now, love."
Ned said, kissing her forehead and standing up from the bed. Ella squeezed Sansa's hand, unable to bend over, and allowed her husband to lead her out of the room. I am going to be standing right outside, Sansa, Adam said, right within screaming distance.
Thank you, Uncle,
she whispered, more sleeping than awake now. Adam smiled, touched, and left to take his post. Catelyn yelped in shock while the others chuckled.
Sansa laughed, delighted. Oh, now I am completely safe.
Silver purred as the young woman patted his head and then jumped onto the bed and curled up on the foot, putting his head on his paws and clearly getting comfortable for a nap. That is huge, Catelyn said in shock. She had last seen the direwolves on the day she left the Midnight Fortress over 2 years ago, when they were still puppies.
This is Silver, Arya said. Rob and John brought him from beyond the wall. He is father's.
Lady Arya, Bertha called from the door.
Syrio is here.
Oh, I forgot he was due today.
Go, Arya, Sansa said, nearly asleep now. I am not alone. Besides, I know you. You want to hit something.
Arya hesitated. Are you sure? Catelyn frowned, finding the new relationship between her daughters strange. So different from what it had once been. What had changed so in their lives?
Yes, Sansa insisted.
Her words slurred with sleepiness.
Danny, Marge and Mother will keep me company. Silver is here, and Uncle Adam is at the door.
She yawned.
I will be fine. I won't even notice you're not here. Sleepy.
All right, Sansa said, and her mouth opened in a slow smile.
I do have the urge to hit someone, and since I can't hit Joffrey, I will go and spar.
Who is Syrio? Catelyn answered, frowning.
My tutor in swordsmanship,
Arya said, her chin raised in defiance, knowing it was time her mother knew about it. What? Catelyn didn't disappoint. You are a lady! You have no business playing with swords!
Father obviously disagrees, Arya said, or he wouldn't have been spending gold for the past 3 years to pay Syrio to teach me.
You are a lady! You belong in a parlour! Embroidering! I hate embroidery! Arya exclaimed.
It's silly and I can't do it. And stop telling me that I have to be this silly maiden in a tower brushing my hair and waiting for a prince to come along and offer me a song. I'm not. I'm different than Sansa.
You obviously are, Catelyn snapped back, offended. And your sister would never be so rude.
And you wonder why I don't go and see you,
Arya exclaimed. She then turned around and left the room, stomping loudly and forcefully. Sansa was already asleep by then, and Marjorie and Daenerys looked away, to not make the situation worse. Her hands shaking, Catelyn sat by her daughter and fussed with her hair, looking away from the judging eyes of the 2 young ladies. When Sansa woke up, it was pitch dark outside, and the room was lit only by the fire crackling comfortably in the fireplace. Silver had moved to the ground, where he was delighting himself with his dinner, and the girl looked to her side to find her sister lying awake, her grey eyes staring at the ceiling. Are you in pain? Arya asked, sitting up when she saw the movement.
No,
Sansa said, trying to sit up.
Well, yes. Only when I try to move.
Well then, best be quiet. Want me to send for the maester?
Not right now, no. I'm starving though. Could you?
Sansa started, but Arya was already moving, going to the table. She took the little bowl of soup and set it by the fireplace to warm up, and then brought the fruit bowl to the bed.
Where is everyone? Ella felt some pain as she tried to stand, so she's been put in bed rest. Father is there trying to ensure she will behave. Aunt Isla said she's fine,
Arya insisted when Sansa widened her eyes. But you know her, she is stubborn.
Danny and Marjorie began to fall asleep on their feet, so John and Rob came and collected them.
Mother also fell asleep, so Aunt Isla had a room prepared for her. In her defence, she only agreed to go when I said I would stay. Sansa nodded, picking a grape from the clump.
Did Did I hear you two arguing when I was falling asleep?
Arya sighed and threw an apple from one hand to the other for a moment, as she gathered her thoughts.
Taking the risk of bringing back old feelings. But there was a time that the two of us came in the same room and would always end up in a fight,
let alone sitting so close.
We grew up, Arya, Sansa said softly.
I know that's part of it, the youngest muttered.
But, Sansa prompted.
You won't remember. You were too absorbed in the praises and dreaming about songs and princes, Arya said, and her sister blushed. But every time Septa Mordain complimented your embroidering, she would turn around and told me how mine was awful, how I should learn to be a good lady like you, how I was rude and ill-tempered and so on. She mocked me when I would prefer to read history books rather than the seven-pointed star, and she would point out how devoted to the true gods you were. And Mother, Arya sighed, every time I asked to go riding with the boys, she looked as if I'd just offended her deeply. She made sure I was never close enough to ask directly to Father. When she did allow me to go riding, it was only in the courtyard and never astride. You remember that day Dany was making her own breeches and how Father was so quick to agree? But before that, she would always block it. And she would turn and tell me how, if I didn't learn to be a good southern lady like you, if I didn't worship the seven and learn to embroider and so on, then I would be unhappy. Rude, improper, has no skills in the proper arts. That is what they always told me. That is what I heard every day before the king came to Winterfell. Mother was only worried about you, Arya, Sansa said hesitatingly.
All she did because she cared.
I believe that, Arya sighed, but she was so consumed with the idea of the perfect southern lady, who waits in a tower brushing her hair for her prince to come and offer her a song, that she couldn't love me as I am. You remember the first thing Ella said when we met? Fine, she was trying to endear herself to us, but she allowed us to be ourselves. She allowed me to go riding, you to do your embroidering. Father hired Syrio without me even asking, because he saw a needle and he understood that was who I was. He still wants me to marry a high lord and be a lady of his castle, but he sees me. When Mother heard about Syrio, all she could say was that I had no business playing with swords and, she snorted, I'm tired of hearing her telling me to be you. Even if she loves me, she doesn't love who I am. Sansa bit her lip, thinking, but then gasped and quickly released it. It was still sore from when she had been hit into it earlier this in the throne room. There had been a reason neither she nor Arya had told even their mother about their daily rides, or about Syrio even, before what had happened at the Sept, before their father's marriage to Ella, because they knew that Catelyn wouldn't understand. And Arya was right. Sansa had never stopped to think about it, like she hadn't thought about a lot of things. But Septa Mordain and Mother were always complaining about Arya. Even saying that Sansa and Jane mocked her younger sister was because Arya was unable to behave properly.
Have you told her that?
The redhead asked. Arya sighed. I might have thrown on her face that was the reason I didn't visit her anymore. She is our mother, but
Maybe try telling her that, Arya, Sansa suggested. You never know what she will say.
Arya shrugged, but closed the subject, when she stood up to get the soup next to the fireplace. Filled with its warmth, Sansa fell asleep again, comforted with Arya holding her unhurt hand and Silver's weight on her legs. Catelyn only waited for Sansa to fall asleep again that morning before leaving the room. Her daughter was safe, and the girl and Lady Marjorie were there, so she could look after her other daughter's interests.
Ned was with the maester in his solar and didn't seem very enthusiastic to see her. "Why are you paying some fool to teach Arya how to handle a sword?" she demanded. Ned rolled his eyes.
"He is not a fool. His name is Sirio Farrell, and he is a reputable swordsman."
"The name sounds foreign," she said accusingly.
"Bravosi, I."
Catelyn was even more upset. "It is not enough that you are allowing her to learn the ways of a blade. You invite a foreigner to teach her."
"Wait a moment. You're only discovering this now." Ned frowned. "The girls never told you before."
"The foreigner arrived as Arya was with Sansa yesterday," Catelyn said, "but that doesn't change anything. I know I've been away, but our daughter has no business handling a blade."
"I'm not having this argument with you, Catelyn. Arya enjoys her lessons, and she will continue to have them."
"What lord will want her when she has ideas no lady should have? Or do you intend to give her her own holdfast to rule in her own name? Because that is preposterous. A woman has no place ruling."
"Lady Mormont would be deeply offended, I'm certain. So would Lady Dustin. And those are the ones I can name off the top of my head," Ned said. "But no, I do not intend to give Arya a holdfast to rule. I will find her a good husband who loves her as she is."
"I have tried and tried to turn her into a proper lady, but you have undermined me at every turn," Catelyn exclaimed. "First that madness with the riding astride wearing breeches, and now this nonsense with swords. She should be playing with dolls and embroidering."
"Arya is a daughter of the North, and she is true to her blood," Ned said, his face stormy. "And I have told you once before, this is how things are done in the North."
"No one can love a girl who plays with swords."
"Funny you should say that, because the king would tell you he waged a war because he loved a girl who played with swords."
Ned snapped back, and Catelyn recoiled as if she had been slapped.
"Arya is a daughter of the North, a daughter of Winterfell. She has the wolf's blood, and she will be raised as such. Sansa loves dolls and embroidering, and I found her a gentle husband to appreciate that. I will find a husband worthy of Arya as well."
"Well then, you had better look into the Stormlands," Catelyn snapped. "But best beware if this Viserys Targaryen crosses west and has the same predilections as his dead brother. Perhaps they will wage another bloody war over the heart of a not ladylike woman." She turned away and stomped out of the room. Ned exhaled an angry breath, punching the table to vent. End of chapter. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed that one. Okay, so they're rallying around Sansa. I love that. And this thing with Arya. I love that she's there with Sansa in her bed. Little known fact, people have forgotten over the years. Because houses were much colder back in the day, and winters were much colder as well, people in the same family would often share the same bed. You read about it in the original books, the Song of Ice and Fire, that they sleep naked in the same beds with people of their own gender. Well, sometimes naked, sometimes with clothes. I guess it depends on the individual. But they would share beds in order to be warm at night when the fire burnt out. But this thing with Sansa talking with Arya and Arya telling her that she was compared to her so often, they really needed that. To see each other as they are and to love each other regardless, that's so powerful. I've had similar talks with both my brother and my sister. I'm very different from each of them, but I have similarities to them too. But I think we all need to do this occasionally. I talk like this with my best friend too, even though he and I are quite alike. Anyway, you guys know the drill. Like, comment and subscribe, and hit that bell to get notified whenever I upload a new video. Have a good day, night, or whatever time zone you're in. Bye my guys, gals, and non-binary pals. I'll see you in another video. Take care.